National Security and Intelligence, Honorable Shaban Ibrahim Sharada, to please come forward and present his welcome address. Mr. Chairman.
And my honorable colleagues, head of interactive session, which brings critical stakeholders at closer range, of course, to share knowledge and experience on 4 security bills referred to the Committee for Appropriate Legislative Action. The bills that make up the subject matter of this engagement are A bill for an act to establish the National Commission Against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons, HB 10. 2. A bill for an act to make provision for the integration of private closed-circuit television CCTV infrastructure into the national security network in Nigeria and related matters, 2019, HB 421. 3. A bill for an act to repeal the Explosive Act, CAP E18, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact exclusive bill to make comprehensive provision for the use and control of explosive in Nigeria and related matters, HBS 369 and 822. And finally, a bill for an act to designate the month of November as National Appreciation for Security Agencies Month and for related matters, HB 1222. Let me use this medium to convey my most sincere appreciation to the Speaker, House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila, for his inspiring, pragmatic, and inclusive leadership, devoid of unnecessary external interference by self-appointed political demagogues. The Honorable Speaker's passion for independent committees operation is gladly utilized by this committee to organize this interactive session to generate progressive input aimed at standardizing the legislative proposal to meet the realities of the current national security. It is therefore necessary on this rare occasion to commend the remarkable performance of the Speaker and the entire leadership for providing opportunities to the House and its committees to fashion out modalities for the implementation of the 9th House Legislative Agenda that prioritizes the realization of the security and welfare of the Nigerian people. It is in view of this that the leadership of the House of Representatives organized a special summit on national security from 26 to 29 May 2021. The summit discussed critical national security challenges characterized by banditry, armed robbery, kidnapping, cybercrime, cross-border crime, and prevalent loss of lives and valuable properties due to the community unrest across the nation. The resolution of the summit have already been handed over to the President for consideration. This committee appreciates the laudable initiative in the conduct of the summit and assures the Right Honorable Speaker of utilizing relevant recommendations in consideration of these bills to ensure the result-oriented outcome consistent with the House legislative agenda of ensuring enactment of legal framework that responds to the current political, socio-economic realities of our time. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, and our esteemed invited guests, the interactive session is primarily organized to discuss the foregoing bills to acquire value addition from security architecture and practitioners, carefully choosing from national security enforcement and intelligence agencies. And at this juncture, I would like to commend the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, and the entire security agencies for employing new strategies and tackling the current wave of insecurity in the country. The House Committee on National Security and Intelligence is not unaware of the real and present danger the current security situation poses to the continued existence and peace of this country. The proliferation of small arms and light weapons, worsening the menace of banditry, armed robbery, and communal clashes, especially in states bordering the neighboring West African countries of Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and Benin Republic. It is significant to note that the existence of ECOWAS Convention on Small Arms and Light Weapons did not help matters in view of its non-domestication by National Assembly until now. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, and our invited guests, I am happy to inform you that Nigeria is hosting the PIPS Conference of African Parliamentarians on Defense and Security with the theme Defense and Security Cooperation between Europe and Africa, New Mechanisms, Reappropriation and Discussions, slated for 27, 28, and 29 of October 2021, whereby parliamentarians from African countries and some from Europe will converge on Abuja to brainstorm on the security situation in the region with a view of finding solutions. As the president of the network, I would want to solicit cooperation and support of the Right Honorable Speaker and my colleagues towards successful conference. The House has also initiated legislations to integrate private closed-circuit television CCTV infrastructure into national security network and designate the month of November as the National Appreciation Month for security agencies. These interactive sessions will afford the invited stakeholders the opportunity to make contributions on the bills before us today. This committee promises to take into consideration all your inputs and contributions and come out with a report that will be a consonance with the current national realities and consistent with global best practices. Let me conclude by reiterating the committee's gratitude once again to the Right Honorable Speaker for prioritizing this event out of his crowded schedules to reaffirm his commitment toward ensuring effective committee system and credible legislative process. I thank my amiable deputy and my honorable colleagues for their indefatigable cooperation and our esteemed invited guests for honoring our invitation. Thank you and God bless.
Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Representative Abdul Hakim Femi Bajabia-Mila. I think my speaker deserves a better round of applause. Thank you.
Committee in the House of Representatives for very obvious reasons. And this is so for very obvious reasons, because if we do not get our security right, then no matter what we do in other sectors, nothing is going to be right. And this is why I say this committee is absolutely strategic and absolutely important for the well-being of our country, and it is a reason why I am here before you in person today to declare this hearing, or should I say hearings, open. So let me welcome you all to the House and thank you most sincerely for your presence this morning. Ensuring the welfare and well-being of the Nigerian people is the primary responsibility of the government, and it is an obligation that we are determined to fulfill by whatever means is necessary. Fulfilling our obligation in this regard requires, above all else, that we protect our people from the dangers of insecurity in service of this tremendous responsibility. We have gathered here this morning to review our four very crucial bills that were referred to the Committee for Legislative Action. The bills under consideration are, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, because I know the chairman has already stated enumerated those bills to you, but for emphasis' sake, it is worth repeating. They are: one, the bill for an act to establish the National Commission Against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons, HB 10. 2, a bill for an act to make provision for the integration of private closed-circuit television and for related matters, 2019, HB 421. 3, a bill for an act to repeal the Explosives Act and for related matters, HB 369 and HB 822. And a bill for an act to designate the month of November as the National Appreciation for Security Agencies Month and for related matters, HB 1222. Now, significant that 2 of these bills are executive bills. In other words, they were bills sent by the executive or referred to the House of Representatives by Mr. President himself, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. However, in separate ways, all four, seek the same goal of making our country a safer place and ensuring that our people live without fear of molestation and victimization. Therefore, these bills are a priority for the House of Representatives. We will consider them thoroughly and with dispatch. Let me repeat. We will consider these bills thoroughly and with dispatch. We will engage with stakeholders and citizens alike to make sure that these bills in their final form serve their purpose. Shortly before the House recessed for our annual vacation a couple of months ago, a bill to give full effect to the ECOWAS Convention of Small Arms and Light Weapons and Ammunition and other related matters passed second reading in the House of Representatives. That bill, amongst other things, seeks to establish a National Commission Against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons. With this new bill from the executive, we now have 2 bills in the House seeking to achieve the same objectives. These bills should not be considered independent of each other. To the extent that their goals are the same, the two responsible committees on national security and intelligence and treaties and protocols and agreements will work together to achieve the objectives of these bills. On behalf of the House of Representatives, I ask all of you to make full use of this opportunity to contribute your perspectives to improve these bills and protect our country in the best way we can. As I have always said, nation building is a joint task. We serve the best interests of our country when we work together in a collaborative effort to build a society that allows all our people to live their best lives. It is important to underscore that this is a public hearing. Some might want to consider it an interactive session. I don't know what the format the committee will adopt, but ordinarily, if it's a public hearing stricto sensu, stakeholders beyond the security agencies are welcome to submit, to make submissions, if that is the way the committee is inclined. But I say so because I want to underscore the fact that security is about everybody, and we're all stakeholders. Even the man on the street that is selling groundnuts on the side road is a stakeholder when it comes to security matters. And so they all have one thing or the other, may have one thing or the other to input into this this public hearing. Nobody here, not the House, not the security agencies, was a fountain of knowledge. Knowledge will be drawn from everywhere. In fact, sometimes from the most unlikely person or the most unlikely source might have one thing or the other too. So again, I underscore this again, like I said, security is about, unlike other areas of legislation, security is about everybody, and everybody is a stakeholder. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of declaring this event open. I thank you all for your service and wish you a successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. As Excellency rightly said, this is truly a public hearing. This committee invited over 30 agencies for this public hearing because of the importance of the bills.
I am aware that I was unaware of this program until Friday. And because of the importance he attached to national security, he has actually put aside other programs to personally be here to declare this event open. Mr. Speaker, may God honor you, sir. I appreciate my chairman and my members. Without you being here, this program will be incomplete. And then to our invited guests, this event is about you. It is not an opportunity for the members of the committee or members of the National Assembly to speak to themselves. It is an opportunity for us to listen to you. You have this singular opportunity to join the lawmaking process. We are here to listen to you. Please be candid in your contributions. We are here to listen to you, to take your own input into the lawmaking process. May God give you the guidance to give us your own without any hesitation. Mr. Speaker, sir, God bless you.
For good order and good governance in the country. The statutory objective which the service stands for. After a careful review of the 4 bills from the House of Representatives Committee, the following observations of the service on each of the bills are as follows. Proposed bill for the establishment of Nigerian National Commission against proliferation of small arms and light weapons. On this, we have this to say humbly. The bill seeks to provide for the establishment of this commission, as already stated earlier. It is commendable for the Nigerian state to own its own commission. However, there are several factors that guarantee effective functioning of this commission, of which we observe on the appointments of the chairman and members of the commission. On this section 2.1 of the Act of the bill provide, the National Commission shall consist of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who shall be the chairman. Other members not below the rank of director or its equivalent from related agencies. A commission that will be handling sensitive national security issues should, to our view, have less things to do with political appointees, like the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Minister of Foreign Affairs is a political appointee with a lot of political issues to address for government, and not to be able to add to the duties of the Commission to its own schedule. Relatedly, Section 2B, that the Director General of the National Commission shall also be Secretary of the National Commission. To our mind, we observe that the powers are too much concentrated in one hand. There may be likely inaction or abuse by the holder of that office. The issue of security screening contained in section says information with respect to that person has been gathered in the security screening investigation of the State Security Service. The above section is key to the establishment of the Commission at its aim at excluding people of questionable character from working in such sensitive offices. It is therefore suggested that vetting of all staff as well as people or secondment from the various law enforcement agencies be carried out before their engagement by the Commission. Additionally, Section 1(2) clearly states the National Commission is a body corporate with perpetual succession and a common seal. However, Section 7(1)(a) provided that the National Commission may from time to time appoint directly or on secondment from law enforcement and security agencies, ministries, or private sector such professionals, technical and other staff as it may consider necessary to assist the National Commission in the effective and efficient performance of its functions under this Act. As a body corporate with common succession and common seal, the Commission is vested with measures of independence. Why then would the Commission source for staff from law enforcement agencies? This will bring in a clash of interest between the Commission and the various law enforcement agencies. Additionally, we observe, most importantly, is the provisions of the Firearms Act 1959 and the Firearms Regulation. More importantly, it is observed that several provisions of the bill are in direct conflict with the provision of the Firearms Act and Firearms Regulation 1959. As it relates to the duty to register firearms, licenses, and permits already vested in the Nigerian Police Force. Section 4 of the Act provides of the Firearms Act 1959. The Inspector General of Police shall maintain in the prescribed form a register of firearms and license to bear the same in each licensing area. The Nigerian Police may have a second view with the duties and functions of this commission. And now that the country is trying to engender collaboration and synergy to combat national security challenges, I think the provision of the bill and the 1959 Firearms Act and Regulation need to be holistically looked into to achieve the desired objectives. This is the position of the service. Meanwhile, the bill in Section 19 provided further, the National Commission shall collect small arms which are surplus to the national needs or have become obsolete, B, or seized weapons. So I think these are all provisions contained in the Firearms Act. These are duties being performed by the Nigerian Police Force. And the Commission's bill did not address how they are going to harmonize this. So in a bill where we don't want a situation whereby there will be conflict of roles that may lead to unpalatable consequences in the discharge of the duties of the Commission. B, observations on comment on the bill for an act to have integration of the private closed-circuit television infrastructure into national security network in Nigeria or related matters. On this, the service humbly submits that the closed-service cameras have become an important security facility in the criminal prevention and detection of crimes in the society. CCTV are used to monitor and record images of what transpires in specific locations real time. We propose an amendment, apart from the literature here, that Section 4 of the bill provides, and I quote, the Act grants access to private companies of the police and the courts during the course of investigation and trial of suspected criminals. We observe the bill prohibits access to CCTV only to the police. We recommend that it should have access to law and security enforcement, including the armed forces, in the course of investigation. If you say the police should only agency to have access to, we are not going to achieve the desired objectives. Our view. On the bill for national appreciation, the service agreed in totality to have this. We have commitment in the discharge of our duties during or after. Then the Explosive Act repeal and reenactment. We propose that Section 11 of the Explosive Act 1953, a person to whom a license has been granted must keep proper books in which shall be entered the quantity, nature, value of explosives purchased or sold by him, particulars of the date of the purchase, and the name of the vendor. This one we studied the Papua New Guinea Explosive Act 1953. We feel we should have something like that. Our intended enacted Explosive Act doesn't have this. So I think if we look at it, this will assist in achieving the desired objective of national security. Lastly, similar provision of the bill to ensure proper records are kept and valuable contribution to security investigation where there is breach in the use of explosives. In the same vein, there may be need to include Section 15 of the bill to prohibit on the sale of explosives to persons other than licensees. The reenacted bill did not take this into consideration. Lastly, let me, on behalf of the Director General of the Security Service, to register our sincere appreciation to this committee for finding it worthy to come here to share our views on this bills as they pertain to national security objectives. Thank you, and God bless you all.
The Defense Intelligence Agency to submit a memorandum on 4 bills proposed for acts by the National Assembly. Following meticulous evaluation of the proposed bills in line with national security interest, the agency wished to present its memorandum to the House Committee as requested. The purpose of this memorandum is therefore to highlight the inputs of DIA submissions on the proposed bills for the acts to the House Committee on National Security and Intelligence. Now to the bill for an act to establish the National Commission against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons. The bill seeking to establish the National Commission against the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons is a welcome development. This is attributed to the fact that if the Commission is established in line with the ECOWAS Convention, it will go a long way to promote and ensure coordination of concrete measures for effective control of the small arms and light weapons in the country. The Commission will further combat the proliferation of small arms and light weapons by armed smugglers across own borders into Nigeria as well as the West African sub-region. Thus, it is imperative that suggested inputs could be added to the clause of the bill as highlighted below. A, the structure of the Commission. The success of any organization the world over is hinged on command and control to specify aggregate responsibilities necessary to move the organization forward. In that regard, the agency observed that the bill did not capture the structure of the Commission. This needs to be specified considering the sensitive nature of the Commission. Therefore, it is suggested that the bill ensure departmentalization, chain of command, span of control, work specialization, and degree of formalization are in place. This will enhance adequate coordination of the Commission towards the achievement of desired objectives. B, to be drawn from the existing security and intelligence agencies in the country, considering their wealth of experience, knowledge, and professionalism in small and light weapons-related matters. Meanwhile, the appointment of the Director General of the Commission was clearly specified, and the DIA is further suggesting that a retired military or security personnel with vast experience and competence in defense and security-related matters on weapons could be considered and appointed to head the commission. C. Supervising Ministry and Minister. The supervising ministry and minister was not indicated in the proposed act and was not defined in clause 30 of the interpretation clause. It is therefore advised that the Minister of Defense could oversee the affairs of the Commission. D. Activities of blacksmiths. The cultural attachment to blacksmith skills, as well as the traditional weapons they manufacture for hunting, ceremonial, and ornamental purposes, has remained a symbol of power and prestige in some traditional communities in Nigeria. However, in recent times, blacksmiths have advanced their skills and now possess the capability to manufacture assorted and sophisticated rifles such as AK-47, revolvers, pistols, improvised explosive devices, among others. This development has created the need to identify, monitor, and regulate their activities. Thus, the need to talent hunt for blacksmiths that could be integrated into Defense Industrial Corporation, DICOM, to enable own defense industry complex exploit their talents. Meanwhile, the bill should be mindful that Section 28 of the Firearms Act of 1957, which prohibits unlawful manufacture of firearms, has not been reviewed. Hence, the need to consider possible benefits to be derived from collaboration between Nigeria and local arms manufacturers by further reviewing extant laws that will support private sector participation in local arms manufacturing is very necessary. Licensing of firearms. The Nigerian police over time licensed the use of double barrels and pump actions to the civil populace. Measures would therefore need to be in place by the bill to ensure the upcoming laws are not conflicting with extant permitting citizens to possess arms for self-defense. Now, the activities of smugglers and non-state actors. The activities of smugglers and non-state actors have exacerbated the proliferation of small arms and light weapons globally, which Nigeria is mostly affected in recent times. This is attributed to the porous nature of our borders. We control jet of security personnel along border points in Nigeria. Now to the bill to make provision for the integration of private closed-circuit television infrastructure into national security network in Nigeria. The CCTV coverage. Covering the current spate of insecurity in the country, the integration of the private CCTV infrastructure into national security network will further boost the ongoing fight against criminal activities, particularly kidnapping for ransom, among other criminalities. Now, if you want to consider, you talked about the residential areas that are made up of government quarters and private-owned houses. Furthermore, all estate development companies in the country could be directed to include CCTV installation as a basic infrastructural facilities provided in their estates. Also, public places such as schools, worship centers, and hospitals, among others, should install CCTV. Another issue is that the government offices, premises, and streets should be considered for CCTV too. Now, for want of time, I would like to jump to a bill for an act to repeal Explosive Act Cap E18. So I will talk of power of profiling of suspects. It was observed that the clause 7.1, page C799 of the bill, authorizes the police officer only to take fingerprint, palm prints, and other biometrics of suspects without warrant. It is suggested that in the light of the current security dynamics in the country, the authorization should be extended to other law enforcement officers of the various security agencies that are trained and could be engaged for such purposes. Now, control of acquisition of scrap metals. The elements used locally to manufacture improvised explosive devices consist of various components such as initiator, switch, main charge, power source, and container. It may further be enclosed with additional enhancements such as nails, glasses, or metal fragments designed to increase the amount of shrapnel propelled by the explosion. These items are most often collected by scavengers who move around from one location to another in residential and business premises, sourcing and collecting discarded items such as scrap metals, plastic, beverage cans, metals, amongst others, from heap refuse dumps and bins. Their activities are most often not scrutinized by any authority. The agency considered the bill need to give more power to the law enforcement agencies to monitor the activities of scavengers, movement and the use of scrap metals and other materials they may collect and sell to be used for manufacturing of IEDs. Others include, one second please. I'll talk about the control of manufacturing and distribution of fertilizers. The frequent demand for fertilizer has rapidly led to increase in the establishment of illegal fertilizer companies, especially in the northern parts of the country. Successfully, fertilizers are being sold to unscrupulous persons who use the chemical substance locally as explosive material to manufacture IED, capable of destroying, incapacitating, and massive loss of life inimical to national security. This underscores the need for the bill to cover all activities of companies and other business enterprises, buying and selling fertilizers, gunpowder, hydrogen peroxide, and other selling fertilizers, and other components that are combustible and can be used as explosive materials in IEDs. The bill will need to further consider the combination and quantity of these combustible materials to be sold, restricted, regulated, and monitored delivery from production to end users, as well as vetting of distributors within the Federation. Okay. So, for want of time, this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Jamila Abakar Sadiq Malafa. I'm here to present the position of the Nigerian Navy. Most of the issues have been addressed so far, but the little we have here, I seek your indulgence to please include our position. We are contributing on small arms. The agency, that's the Ministry of Internal Affairs, instead of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, should handle this same transaction. That's Nigerian Navy position, please. Then we are suggesting the Ministry of Internal Affairs again to chair this same commission. In addition to the listed agencies, we are suggesting that the armed forces be included and the Nigerian immigration be included in the listed agencies. Then sections 5, paragraph C, JOS be changed to laws. Section 7, sub 1, JOS in line 2 be changed to law. Section 15, subsection 2, paragraph A, and section 15, subsection 3. The limit of 3 months in section 15, 2A is contrary to the provisions of section 15, sub 3. Then section 9, sub 1 suggests additional functions of reproposing the seized weapons and arms to be used by security agencies. I think we can look at the provisions of the International Convention on the issue of how the arms should be used when seized. Then, other sections have been addressed by our colleagues, so I'm sure they will present it here and it has been submitted. I want to contribute on the coming seminar on proliferation of arms organized by the House of Representatives. I was in charge as a member of fight against Boko Haram. And I can tell you categorically, I'm standing here, I stand to be corrected, that some of these countries that we have borders with have no armory. They do not have armories. So most of their arms that are being donated by the, I don't want to be specific, by the developed countries in the name of assisting us to fight our problems are compounding our problems in Nigeria. Because you find out that each average Chadian soldier has 20 to 30 arms underneath his bed. When he's broke, he brings it out and sells it for $30, $20. I am here, I am standing here, and I'm saying it. Since we are going to collaborate with ECOWAS and other countries that are donating such arms to these countries, I think we should insist that they should either enact laws to govern the handling of these arms and ammunition, or build an armory for these countries, or else we will not see peace. The CCTV that we are advocating for, in my opinion, though they said even Berlin Wall has been knocked down, I think we should build a wall between us and these neighboring countries. Or we should have a serious surveillance, or else we will not see peace in this country. I'm telling you this. I have been in that area for years, so I know what is happening. That is my own personal contribution. Thank you.
This morning, my presentation shall cover two bills, namely the bill for an act to establish the National Commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons and other related matters, that's HB 10. And the second one will be the bill for an act to repeal the Explosives Act, Cap E18, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and related matters, HBS 369 and 822. May I please inform us that this presentation will just be an abridged version of what we are going to submit at the end of this session. I'd like to begin with the bill for an act to establish the National Commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. The Nigerian Air Force observes that this bill being considered seeks to establish a national commission which shall promote and ensure coordination of concrete measures for effective control of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria. The Nigerian Air Force is of the view that the proliferation of small arms and light weapons across the globe poses a systemic threat to a country's long-term socio-economic development. And available data from United Nations Regional Center for Peace and Disarmament reveals that Nigeria has over 350 million small arms and light weapons out of an estimated 500 million small arms and light weapons in circulation in West Africa. Of course, this portends grave danger to the country's well-being and national security. Accordingly, the Nigerian Air Force wishes to make the following inputs. In the bill that was submitted to us, in Part 1, Section 2, Subsection 1, which is covering the membership of the National Commission, This section states that the membership of the National Commission consists of the Minister of Foreign Affairs as the chairman, one person not below the rank of director or its equivalent, to be appointed from each of the following ministries and departments and agencies, as the case may be. Talking about the Federal Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Federal Ministry of Defense, Federal Ministry of Justice, State Security Service, Nigerian Police Security, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Nigerian Customs Service, the Director General of the National Commission, who shall also be the Secretary of the National Commission, and 2 persons to represent the civil society organizations engaged in the control of the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. However, the Nigerian Air Force observes that the armed forces and the Nigerian Immigration Service were not captured in the membership. Accordingly, it is suggested, or the NAF wish to suggest, that the membership of the Commission be expanded to include the armed forces, namely the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, as well as the Nigeria Immigration Service. In Part 2, that's Section 4 of the bill, under the function of the National Commission, the Nigerian Air Force wishes to suggest that the functions of the National Commission shall be expanded to include ensuring that obligations under the United Nations Firearms Protocols, the ECOWAS Convention, and other international instruments of the small arms and light weapons to which Nigeria is a party to or has acceded to are complied with. Secondly, it should also include promoting the removal of arms from the society through the collection, storage, destruction, management, and stockpiling of small arms and light weapons. It should also include the registration of small arms and light weapons. Also in Part 3, Section 6 and Subsection 1A, which covers the delegation of powers to the Director General. The bill states that the Director General may delegate in writing any of his powers under the Act to a Deputy Director of the National Commission, or instruct any other employee to perform any of the functions assigned to the National Commission under the Act. The Nigerian Air Force wishes to suggest that the appointment of Deputy Director should be changed to Director and should read thus. I quote, the Director General may delegate in writing any of his powers under the Act to a Director of the National Commission, or instruct any other employee to perform any of the functions assigned to the National Commission under this Act, unquote. Now, I'm going to now move to the next bill that we are going to be making our inputs on, which is the bill for an act to repeal the Explosive Act. The Nigerian Air Force has the following inputs. The first one is in Part 2, Section 2, which is covering the appointment of inspectors of explosives. Now, the bill states that the appointment of chief inspector and inspectors of explosives should take into consideration the military, police, other security agents, and civilian explosive experts in the Ministry of Mines and Solid Minerals, who are also stakeholders in the enforcement of Explosives Act's regulations in Nigeria. Based on this, the Nigerian Air Force suggests that Section 2 be amended to include that the President, upon clearance by the State Security Service and confirmation by the National Assembly, may appoint a member of the armed forces, the police, or civilian with explosive training as the Chief Inspector of Explosives. Furthermore, the person or persons to be appointed as inspector of explosives must be a person or persons with requisite training in explosive management, explosive ordnance disposal, or licensed mine blasting experts. This will accommodate all the diverse explosive experts in the use of explosive and allied substances in Nigeria. Also in Part 3, Section 10, Subsection 2A, which deals with the issuance of magazine license, the Nigerian Air Force suggests that this section should be amended to include Subsection 2 and should be modified as follows. It should include the place and location. It should include the local government area, the state instead of province. It should be state instead of province. The nature of stores to be stored in the magazine should also be included. The quality of explosive stores and other divisions and compatibility groupings should be included. The Office of the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Service Chiefs and Inspector General of Police shall each be provided with 2 copies of every licensed magazine in the country. Lastly, in Part 3, Section 10, Subsection 2, the Nigerian Air Force, which states that the bill should include Section 2, Subsection C, that we should make an inclusion to that Part 3. And it should state that any person who intends to run a magazine for storage of explosives shall employ trained explosive managers, explosive ordnance disposal experts to oversee such magazine or explosive stores. This brings me to the end of my inputs from the Nigerian Air Force. I want to thank you all for your rapt attention. God bless you all.
My name is Sanusi Eliemu, Deputy Inspector General of Police, representing the Nigerian Police Force and the Inspector General of Police. We received the 4 Bs. 1, a bill for an act to establish the National Commission Against Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons, HB 10. 2, a bill for an act to repeal the Explosive Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, HBS 369 and 822. The third one is a bill for an act to make provision for the integration of private closed-circuit television CCTV, HB 421. Lastly, a bill for an act to designate the month of November as National Appreciation Month for Security Agencies, HB 1222. We thank you for these bills, and we really appreciate the effort of the House of Representatives. The bills are welcome development in the nation's democratic experiment. And it couldn't have come at a better time than now that the nation is faced with security challenges such as terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, various forms of agitations, and militancies. The bills, when passed, will strengthen the law enforcement capacity of Nigerian armed forces, the police, and other security agencies. And to this end, the Nigerian Police Force is in total support to the proposed bills, and our legal department, explosive ordnance department, armament will forward our submission to the committee. Thank you very much.
The honorable members, invited stakeholders, members of the press, please, I would like to stand on the already established protocol. So I would like to bring to your notice that this bill was only given to us this morning, but due to the respect we have for the House and the committee, we deem it desirable to attend the interactive session. The inclusion of the Ministry of Interior and the Nigerian Immigration Service as the lead agency in border management in the establishment of the National Commission Against Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons and related matters is germane and apt. Sir, at this juncture, sir, a holistic input and presentation of the NIS on the bill will be submitted thereafter. And we still call on the House to extend the membership of the Commission to include the NIS, just like a call has been made by the representative of the Nigerian Air Force. We should thank you for giving this opportunity, and God bless. Thank you.
My name is Shadrach Haruna, the DG Secretary of NDLEA. I'm here representing the Chairman and Chief Executive, as well as representing the agency itself. We have had a very good look at the 4 bills, and I think it's very progressive. They're very progressive in nature, and we want to congratulate the members who proposed this bill and the committee for bringing this bill for public hearing. Our observations are, however, not so many, and I want to quickly go through the observations we have. For the first bill, which is for an act to establish a national commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, we have very few comments relating to the membership, and I want to subscribe to what other colleagues have said before me, that the membership actually should be expanded to include all agencies and law enforcement agencies that are arm-bearing and have very intrusive form of investigation, because it's in the course of investigation that you come across some of these arms and ammunitions. And I want to say that NDLEA should actually have been a member of the commission. And then also, I want to lend my views, which is also our position as well, to colleagues who have spoken earlier, that Minister of Foreign Affairs is not the appropriate person to be the chair of this committee, but the Minister of Internal Affairs. And that is a very strong position which we want to take as well, and also to ensure that NDLEA is represented in the commission. And then the second bill, which is a bill for now to make provisions for the integration of private closed-circuit television infrastructure into national security network in Nigeria and for related matters. We also have few observations relating to that one as well. And these observations include the fact that this bill is very, very necessary, and I think it helps to support the security architecture of the country. And what we propose is that Section 1 of the bill should actually be expanded to include a bill makes for provision for the compulsory installation, because this bill, the tenor of the bill shows that it's a compulsory need for businesses to have CCTV, but that aspect is not there. Compulsory installation and integration of private CCTV infrastructure into the national security network in Nigeria. Then the second one is Section 2. There should be a uniformity of the month, because the explanatory note actually mentioned July, and then Section 2 mentioned November. We have no quarrel with any of the day, any of the months that is chosen, but then there should be uniformity in choosing a particular month to observe this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm missing things up. Section 2 actually should be for the uniformity of the target bodies, because you see that in some cases we have private bodies, private companies, and private organizations. I think what we subscribe to, it should be private organization. And that private organization should actually be, not just private organization, should be extended to also public as well. Because we cannot see where we have private organizations being obliged to have CCTV, and we have public institutions like agencies with specific offices not having CCTV. So this should include both private and public institutions, which of course will include schools and universities, as well as primary and secondary schools, as mentioned by some colleagues who have made presentation earlier. So this aspect should be expanded as well. That's the submission of NDLEA. Then the objective of the bill, which is contained in Section 3, should also be expanded to be in two folds, in the sense that expand the security network in Nigeria and to complement the surveillance efforts of the security agencies. That is the essence of the bill. But for now, it only means expand the security network, but not complementing the efforts of the security agencies, because that's exactly what CCTV is all set out to do, complementing the efforts. Then Section 5, we also observe that instead of making it an imprisonment for somebody who failed to have CCTV, we should actually make it a fine. It should be a fine which should be imposed, and compulsive installation. An order of compulsive installation should also be made by the court when somebody is found guilty of not installing the CCTV. So that's part of our observation as well. And then Section 7, which is the interpretation section, should also define what private organization is. Because we know what public ones are, but public organization should also be properly defined, which is for now not defined in the Interpretation Act, in the interpretation section of the bill. And then it could be defined to include all private businesses and any other person doing business or owning the private premises where businesses is being transacted. So that is for the bill for CCTV. Then the other one is, which we want to comment upon, is the one on the bill for now to designate the month of November as a national appreciation for security agencies to preserve and promote honor, respect, and greater etc. We also observe that this bill is very, very essential because we know what the security agencies are doing and they need to be appreciated appropriately. However, we've also discovered that other security agencies are not included here, who are also doing very, very important business. And this includes agencies like NDLEA. We conduct a lot of intrusive investigations which attract reprisal attacks, and indeed, it also brings about fears to the life and limbs of officers. So this type of these agencies, which also include agencies like immigration and others, should be appropriately recognized and also be appreciated. This has not been done in the current bill. Then the month, you have to reconcile the months, whether it should be July or it should be November. The explanatory note said it's July, but the body of the Section 2, Section 1 says November. This should also be properly reconciled. And then the definition of security agencies should also be expanded, because, for instance, it's very restrictive the way it is currently, and it should include all bearing agencies, as well as those ones conducting investigations, which also attract reprisal attacks to them. And all those law enforcement agencies doing and complementing to the security architecture of the country should also be appreciated, because their job is no less than those ones who are defending the integrity of the nation. Then, for want of time, let me quickly also mention that we are in support of the 4 bills, and then, of course, we want to see that security agencies are appropriately represented on these bills, NDLEA in particular, because the work we do is security agencies' work, and the definition of security agency should be expanded to include all the law enforcement agencies. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
We have glossed over them, but for the brevity of time, I will glean over them since most of the speakers before me have dealt with them generously. For the first bill, tend to look at the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. We have considered the sections, especially the sections as they were encapsulated in the bill, but we came with these following remarks, and these are the remarks I'm going to talk about. We have observed that the sections were not properly couched, and for the expression of the law, it would be better if these sections are revisited and properly renumbered. This will entail and help for coherency. In addition, notable typographical errors were observed as well, so it would be better if these bills were properly revisited and then renumbered. Now, Section 2, Subsection 1D, Subsection 5 talks about the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. They are lumped together, and in our estimation, we recommend that they should be treated as separate entities. reflecting to reflect this in the bill. Section 3, subsection 2, and 3, subsection 2G, we observe that there will seem to be a conflict between the two provisions. It is suggested that the latter provision be expunged from the bill. Now we visited section 6, subsection 3 of the bill, and we also suggest that this provision ought to be captured in the internal standard operating procedure, that's the SOP, of the Commission. The reason is that it deals with the day-to-day running of the Commission. We admonish that this should also be visited and the corrections be made therein. It is observed also that the bill does not give the Commission powers of arrest. For a commission that's got to do with arms, they should also have the power to arrest and the power to investigate offenses and infractions. It is also not empowered to liaise with relevant law enforcement agencies that deal with matters of money laundering. For the brevity of time, I cannot begin to explain the extent of the involvement of arms and money laundering in the nation and terrorist financing in order to avail them the necessary information for the required evaluation reports on monies that have been considered so. Section 15, subsection 1, 16, subsection 2, and section 17 of the bill talks about the public officers. Here we estimated that the Public Officer Protection Act protects the Director General of the Commission, members of the board, and staff when acting in their official capacity. They are therefore not personally liable for such official acts and cannot be personally indemnified to warrant the assets and the fund of the Commission being used to offset same. Furthermore, all government agencies we know are legally represented by the Office of the Honorable Attorney General. So for this, the Attorney General's office comes to their aid. Section 20, subsection 2. It is suggested that the duration for the storage of small arms and light weapons in the storage facilities referred to should be clearly stated. It was not clearly defined in the bill. So we suggest that this be clearly stated as well. Section 20, subsection 2E, it is advised that this subsection should be expunged from the bill since the Commission does not have the capacity to secure the manufacturing and transportation of seized and recovered small arms and light weapons to the designated storage facility. And finally, section 30 of that act talks about the caption, interpretation section should be inserted. That's all for the first bill. For the second bill that has got to do with the private closed-circuit television, we will not overflog this, but we'll just gloss over some highlights. We said in section 2, sub and 3, it is suggested that section 3 should come before section 2, that is inversely should be replaced, because of the provisions contained therein, which outlines the objectives of that bill. We also said that the term private organizations and medium and high secured areas, high security should be well defined. There's need to qualify what a private organization is. Is a petty trader or an SME. The owner of the business premises or outlet should take responsibility for the installation of CCTV and not the occupants. It should be clearly defined. There should be specifics on the areas where the CCTV should cover as not to offend privacy. Section 3, subsection B talks about observing the behaviors of people in order to detect and prevent criminal activities within the immediate environment. We say that measures should be taken to ensure that the CCTV of business owners do not violate the privacy. I reiterated that earlier. It should be within the location of the business and should capture critical areas. Then section 3, subsection C, we make reference to the fact that it should read prompt identification of criminals. Prompt identification. Section 3D to read providing audiovisual records to aid investigation and prosecution. Now, we looked at section 3E, where it says that there should be, we said there should be modalities for retrieving recordings by law enforcement organization from the business owners. Now, do you just go there and demand for recordings, or there must be a legal instrument for you to demand for these recordings? So we suggest that this should be put there. Process of retrieval. Measures should be put in place to ensure the integrity of the CCTV footage as it is transferred from the recording device to an external storage. The process of transferring or transmitting should also be protected. In section 4, the caption police and court powers is to be replaced with powers of law enforcement agencies. The reason is that the term law enforcement agencies is encompassing. We looked at section 4, subsection 1. It is advised that the subsection should be removed because the CCTV is installed for private security purposes, which should only be accessed by relevant security agencies during investigation. Subsection 2 of the same section 4, it should read thus: the Act grants access to law enforcement agents to inspect CCTV installed during the course of investigation. I want to believe this. The other speakers have submitted, and so there's no need of overflogging it. Thank you very much.
My seniors present here, other members of the seminar. Actually, I have the mandate of the Controller General, Nigeria Correctional Service, by name Alhaji Halilu Nababa, MNI, to come and grace this occasion. Meanwhile, he directed me to inform the Honorable Chairman of the committee that efforts, serious efforts, have been put in place to properly scrutinize the bill with our legal departments to come up with an informed submission. So I just want to inform the chairman that between now and today, as they say, a very detailed submission will be submitted to the committee, notwithstanding the fact that we are arms-bearing organizations, just like other security organizations. This bill is very, very important to us. We will bring a submission that is going to be very workable and very advantageous to security organizations. Thank you very much.
I have in my team, why I have to do this background is so that the committee will know the weight behind what this commission is supposed to be. The Commission on the Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons. It is very important to remember or to recall that this committee is supposed to go around every country in the continent, particularly in Africa, and down to ECOWAS. This was over 15, 20 years ago, because the United Nations realizes that it cannot solve any problem when they are there for peace, when arms are all over the place. Committees can fight each other. He who has more weapons succeed. Now we can see what is happening all over the world. So they now said their job will not do well except member countries establish a commission. And they were even going to counterfund all nations. But do you know in Africa, all countries have established this and they are receiving this. We were 2 countries, ourselves and Angola, that were left for years because of infighting and the nature of situations in our countries. Last year, Angola has enrolled with the United Nations. Nigeria has, I'm talking to you today, has not yet. And that's why this bill is so necessary and very vital for the committee. I will also mention a few of my members who are of a pedigree that has relationship to do with the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. I have the chairman of the BOT, Alhaji Aliyu Yaradua, the brother of the late head of state, may he still rest in perfect, head of state he's standing there. He was the one that went to the south, the south, and went into the creeks and brought information and tape and brought it to our president then, the late president Yaradua, and that's what led to the ammunition of the amnesty that made them brought all their weapons. He is in my team. I have Professor Ate, he's there. He worked in United Nations in terms of security. In fact, he was a consultant in National Assembly years ago. He is also experienced with the ECOWAS. So all this is here. We have Senator Liman, MT Liman, from Katsina, who was in the internal affairs and was the one that brought all the rules and regulations that civil defense are using today. He is Senate leader. He was Senate leader in this particular assembly. Please, I am mentioning these few names. I have DIGs. I have also AVM. The retired AVM, I happened to teach. I have taught him in Defense Academy before he graduated, but he is retired now and was in the United Nations team that disarmed the same Angola. So we are a team of experienced people that want to get this arms something to be solved.
DG, please, let's focus on your paper.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chairman, members, and respected dignitaries here present, permit me to give an outline of the general principle for which this very important bill is today. The bill is gone through first and second readings in both chambers and National Assembly, and accordingly have referred to their committees on national security and intelligence, of which the Senate has finished its public hearing and compiled the report for plenary passage. The bill essentially seeks to provide the establishment of National Commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in accordance and to coordinate and implement activities to combat the problems of the small arms, ammunition, and light weapons in Nigeria, in line with ECOWAS states on small arms and light weapons program of action. The background. The post-World War II and Cold War establishments of the United Nations for the whole globe did not exactly counter the state of production and circulation of arms and light weapons in Africa and other continents, therefore experienced all manner of instability. The compilation and complication of the small arms and light weapons worldwide informed the United Nations to come up with a program of action to prevent and combat and eradicate the illicit trade in small arms globally. This premise strategy is that the proliferation of small arms and light weapons undermine peace, structural stability, and long-term development in various regions of the world. Also, it has a stricken issue in the international agenda in decades now. It is piece of activities that is eating into the survival of emerging nations in the international scene, especially in Africa. It is a phenomenon that is destabilizing peace, development, and threatening the national security of sovereign nations. The local root causes of the conflicts are numerous and diverse. However, in nearly all the conflicts, the diffusion of illegal arms and weapons of terror, particularly from the industrialized nations of the developing world, has played a decisive role in the escalation, intensification, and resolution of these conflicts. On 31st October 1996, ECOWAS came up with a 3-year the ECOWAS came up with a 3-year moratorium on the impact on light weapons, and Bamako Declaration also followed 1st December 2000, of which, okay, let me go to observation. Observations. Chairman, honorable members, and respected University President here. In Nigeria, the proliferation of small arms has become a serious security challenge. There is a general security as most parts of the country experience high-level crimes perpetrated through illicit weapons or arms. The United Nations estimated that, mentioned earlier, that the most substantial percentage of illegal arms that is circulating in West Africa are all in Nigeria. This has fueled violent conflicts, has witnessed in the Niger Delta, kidnapping in Southeast, armed robbery pandemic, and Southwest, ethnic violence in Plateau, and the Boko Haram terrorist operations in the Northeast, and now even house-to-house attack by banditries to kidnap and to destroy. All have plunged the nation into a serious state of insecurity. Uncontrollable arms have impacted the country's democracy and development negatively. Electoral violence by gun-wielding thugs and assassinations of several political leaders since 1999 have jeopardized free and fair elections in our state.
Let me just go briefly to some of the comments we have on the bill. And I must notice that the Commission only received 3 bills instead of 4. We've not been able to get access to the last bill, which is a bill for an act to designate a month of November as the National Appreciation for Security Agency. We appreciate if we can have that. And we will send our input.
Can you make that available to her?
We will send our input before tomorrow, as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Okay, I bring you greetings from the Executive Secretary, Anthony Ojukwu, the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission. My name is Pwadumdi Oko, and here are the submissions of the Commission. As regards the bill for an act to provide for the integration of private closed-circuit television infrastructure into the national security network in Nigeria and for related matters, the Commission has gone through the bill and is of the opinion that, to a great extent, it has captured the necessary points that will safeguard the rights of Nigerians. However, we recommend that the bill should include, like every other person has said, public organizations, because it's not just private companies that need, to safeguard the security of Nigerian citizens. And perhaps by way of personal remark, I will suggest, I'm of the opinion that 6 months, might be a bit too small, because I'm trying to understand, for a growing economy and companies, young companies that have just been established. I don't know if they will have money to acquire a CCTV camera, and then not to talk about the 500,000 fine that will be imposed on them if they don't do that. So if there will be a bit, maybe like 1 year, just to make everybody, accountable to this. So that is our comments for that bill. And as regards the bill for an act to repeal the Explosives Act, majorly what we have are just clerical mistakes, which we've already submitted our remarks, and I'm sure the committee will look into it and reflect same. And for the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigerian National Commission against the proliferation of arms, small arms and light weapons, we have about 7 comments and about 6 clerical mistakes that were noticed. And like I said before, we've submitted our provision, and we pray that it will be adopted as the comments of the National Human Rights Commission. Thank you very much.
The National Park Service has the mandate to protect the plants and wildlife resources of this country that are designated in forest reserves, game reserves, and what we call the national parks. The national parks are prerogative of the federal government of Nigeria, while the forests and game reserves are the prerogative of states and local government. Therefore, there has to be a synergy if the current war on insurgency should be won. The local government, the state, and the federal government should synergize. Nigeria has 1,129 forest reserves, 36 game reserves, 7 national parks, plus the one that have just been recently approved by Mr. President, 10, which he mentioned as Onga. So this is the position of our forest reserves. And there are also 6 sanctuaries, and of course, 3 biosphere reserves. The biosphere reserves are established by UNESCO, and of recent, Nigeria received the Director General of UNESCO in the country. Mr. Chairman, sir, let me apologize. I came late. I came late because of other very important official duties. And 2, let me commend and congratulate the committee for bringing this issue at this time of our existence in this country, because it is timely and apt. From the National Park Service, we want to support or talk on 3 of the bills. Number 1, that is the proliferation of small arms. Number 3, the use of CCTV. And of course, number 4, to support a day that will be established, that will be institutionalized for the appreciation of the armed forces and others fighting to regulate the proliferation of arms, small arms, and the rest of them. Our position has not yet been submitted to the committee, Mr. Chairman, and we will leverage on the opportunity you have given to submit between the close of day today and the close of business tomorrow. So, but what the highlights of what is going to be contained in our submission is just aligning ourselves with some of the submissions that have already been made, like the submission made by NDLEA, that all arm-bearing agencies should be listed in this bill. That is the first bill. The National Park Service bears arms, Section 42 of our Act gives us the powers to bear light arms. So therefore, I align myself with that view so that the National Park Service can be listed in those agencies that have been that bear arms. Two, we also want to align ourselves with the chairmanship of the of the Act. Instead of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we are aligning ourselves with those that supported the view that the Minister of the Interior remain the chairman of that committee. Honorable Chairman, sir, as much as we support these three bills, I want to thank you for extending this invitation to us, and also commend and congratulate the sponsors of this bill, that they have actually thought wise, thought timely, and they should be commended. On this note, I want to thank the committee, members of the committee, the stakeholders here there for their time. Thank you very much.
First is to assure you, like Mr. Chairman has said, that your contributions are noted. We're taking verbatim recording of everything that's been said, and for people whose papers were not presented in full, we requested that you submit it to us. We want to have it because they will all form part of our report to the House. It concerned them. ONSA is not officially represented. They should have been here because, you know, a lot of people kept raising this issue. Why is it this way? Minister of Foreign Affairs is not here because they need to explain to us. How come you're signing a treaty concerning security agencies and you didn't invite them before you force Nigeria into this treaty? Because this treaty, especially the one on small arms, is already signed. We're only trying to domesticate it, which means Nigeria is already tied with all the errors. While the Minister of Foreign Affairs not involve the NSA, Minister of Internal Affairs, security agencies, and other, because at the end of the day, Foreign Affairs is not going to collect light weapons or collect even any weapon at all. So it's sad that they're not here. Maybe they will have thrown more light to it and we'll understand it better. And of course, Minister of Justice, because Minister of Justice needs to know about the law. We will still reach out to these agencies and other stakeholders to ensure that we get proper input. If we're going to do a great job, we want to do it pretty well. And so we're going to look at that. We'll reach out to them. I think before I just throw it to members, I specifically asked the DG of NATFOS to stand up because I read through his paper and there were a few things that need to do. We need to avoid confusion. We need to avoid unnecessary controversy because NATFOS has been at the center of a lot of issues. And there's always this conflict. I'm a legislator, a lot of people call me every day. NATFOS is recruiting, NATFOS is doing this and that. And so, which was why I raised that question, if it's an agency or an NGO, and I'm glad that he explained that it's an NGO. But from his paper, page 3 of your paper, and I'm going to read it out to you, and from the 3rd paragraph, said NATFOS was therefore established as a result of United Nations Treaty with ECOWAS, which realized that any decision reached could only be effectively implemented if it enjoyed the support of members. Hence, the memorandum for its implementation as a National Commission for the Control of Unlawful Circulation of Small Arms, Ammunition, and Light Weapons, Article 24 of ECOWAS Convention resolved that head of each of the member states in ECOWAS should domesticate the outcome of the convention, and Nigeria NATFOS was inaugurated. Was NATFOS inaugurated in compliance with Article 24 of ECOWAS Convention? Who is doing the inauguration? Yes, an NGO enforcing the treaty on behalf of Nigeria. I think that's what I want you to clarify.
Yes, you're asking me, isn't it? Yes, it was inaugurated by ONSA. We have a document for it.
ONSA inaugurated, yes, you as an NGO.
At that time, it was a collaboration of, general, all walks of life, and even the ministry. We have even the list. We have the list.
Okay. I think we need to, because I've had calls as well. I've attended a meeting with ONSA, raised this issue. I've attended a meeting with ONSA, and all they kept saying is they have nothing to do with NATFOS. In fact, at some point, I know that ONSA felt slighted by your attempt to employ. I have
even the name of the NSA there, who inaugurated that particular body.
Okay, but you are aware that you're not a creation of any Nigerian law. You are aware that you're not a creation of any Nigerian law.
Yes, it was. But okay.
Okay, please, nobody chairman can I so, gentlemen, please, I think you all understand this. I know it's probably your concern as well. No, let him finish. You will respond, please.
They've brought this to enact it as a law, which is always by the other speakers employs you for trying to put this and make it a law. Without you putting it, we can put it still on gallery. But defense, finance, custom, they have all identified, and we have whole meeting, and they have given us the go-ahead. But for the law, it has to be from the legislative, and that is what they are trying to do. Now, if you consider us fit, we have all what it takes since 2018. We have all the documents, and which I have passed to you in 40 copies to the clerk of assembly.
Sir, if you have allowed me.
The NATFOS was created.
Yes.
In compliance with ECOWAS Treaty, which is basically meaning that you've transformed from an NGO to something that is enforcing a treaty signed by Nigeria. It's the contradiction I'm trying to understand.
That's why, if you can, I would say that I just formed it or anything. This, we have documents we can supply. Just ask us documents to prove whatever it is we submit to you. It's government documents, and the man himself inaugurated. The first chairman was General Ohikire. He was the chairman of this. Then he was given higher assignment, and Okiro, who was IG, was given that chairmanship. We have this all in document. It's not just...
excuse me, please. An NGO is an NGO. Am I right?
Yes, correct. Perfect.
It has no legal backing as to the laws of Nigeria in terms of what the deputy chairman is trying to, as whether you have any legal backing as to your establishment as an NGO. Because by the way you are talking, you are confusing many of us. So as an NGO, let us leave it that way. If you have anything to submit to the committee for more information, you can do that. So there is no need we should be arguing on this. An NGO, we know what the law says about NGOs. So let us go by that, Mr. Deputy Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I know that even without saying that, a lot of stakeholders were concerned, especially given events that transpired before, especially with the name NATFOS. Are you employing people? Who is paying them?
That's why we have been having meeting with the Federal Minister of Finance. The minister was in that inauguration. The responsibility was to him. We were at the verge of getting...
Please.
No, let me just get an intervention from the lady here. She might be able to help us.
Are you drawing any kobo from government appropriation?
Please, I need
from
to...
From FGN appropriation, are you?
Let me just... We are not in any way. An NGO raises money from membership.
Fine. It is essentially an NGO. I don't think we should overstretch this matter.
There shouldn't be any way to overstretch because an NGO has its own law that governs them.
Fine. I think the legality they are talking about is to the extent that they are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission.
That
right
is
or
it.
wrong?
Yeah, that is.
That is the legality they are talking about, Honorable Chair and colleagues. So I don't think we should overstretch this matter.
It shouldn't.
That is the legality, and it's, to that extent, you are right. By every
argument, you are right. You are a legal entity. You are registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission, so there's no argument about that. You are a recognized NGO in this country. But to the extent that you are a government agency, no, because you are not drawing any appropriation for the federal government appropriation, which the National Assembly has a legal backing to give you funds. We are not empowered to give you funds because you are not yet, as of today, recognized by the Nigerian law to draw any funding from government treasury. You are not.
God bless.
I think there is no argument about this.
God bless you.
And colleagues. I think that should be up.
Thank you, Honorable.
Mr. Chairman, this important public hearing is something that will not just throw it away to the opportunity given by the Parliament, especially as it relates with our agencies. The office of the NSA should be well represented in this kind of meeting. And let me say it without any apology to anybody, that this office should have been here well represented, because this is our lifeline as a country. And the problem we have had in this country has gone beyond the issue of capacity of this office to coordinate our activities. I have no apology to what I am saying. I can be quoted anywhere. I am a Nigerian, and I should speak for Nigerians. The chairman and the deputy have said that Ministry of Justice and this office and Foreign Affairs are not here on this, something that has been killing Nigerians all over. Our armed forces are stretched because of the proliferation of these arms. 20 years, we are not like this. And once the office has a responsibility to coordinate our activities in terms of security, and they are not here, so what are we wasting our time? So I want to call on the leadership of this committee, to our leadership, to look at this passionately and do something about it. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has also a responsibility. They coordinate all the activities of our foreign missions and what have you. And this proliferation of arms, how do they come into the country? How do they come into this country? We have countries bordering us, and these arms are coming through these countries. And we don't have representation from the Foreign Affairs. And we need to know more about what our missions are doing, who do we have in our missions, so that we articulate this act, so that we'll have a perfect act that will help the country to get out of these woods. So, Mr. Chairman, I think for me, what we are doing, we want to thank those who have honored the invitation to this committee, and we will still do our work, but we want to put it on record that this agency has not been responsive to what we should be doing as Nigerians. We are not professionals in that sense, but we need to get input and see that we can be able to come up with something that will help the country. And Mr. Chairman, I want to just make a comment that this bill, this commission, if established, will help the security situation of Nigeria. But as I said, if you take one country, Niger, we have 1,500 kilometers of border with that country. So how do we man this border in terms of this issue of the arms coming to our country? So apart from that, we have also the sea. And I have seen in the submission, Navy is not even represented in that. The customs are well represented, which is okay, but the Navy, for me, is one agency, and all the other paramilitary establishments, immigration and whatever, we have no problem. But the Navy should be well placed also on this because of the sea. Because we still have some people bringing arms in the sea. And I want to say, Mr. Chairman, that I have not seen, even in the establishment of the Secretary of the Commission, it has been said that the DSS will screen somebody. But I think we should look at it as a committee so that there has to be a well-established criteria as to who is going to head these agencies. We will have to have a rigorous, putting somebody that will help the country. We should not just leave it to what it is now. We should look at the best international practice in terms of who to man some of these agencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable colleague. Any other contribution or question? I thank all of you for. I need to ask too if there's any question from this side of the House. If you have any further clarifications or any question you'd like to ask us.
I don't know whether issues which were actually presented here were properly recorded, because there were very germane issues that came out from so many presenters. And I don't know the process, how those could be.
I think I stated earlier that we're taking verbatim recording. Everything is being recorded, every conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that assurance.
We thank you very much for honoring our invitation. While I invite Honorable Jande, who is Deputy Chairman Technical Committee of this committee, for the closing remarks.